to another session of Vaibhavam about Sri Ramanujacharya Swami. So, we have got a little bit of a background about the Acharya. So, we are gonna look into the chronological order, how his life, the events in his life has taken place, and what he has done for mankind. Today we are gonna look into that. So Ramanujacharya Swami was born in 1017. This is the Tirunakshatram, that was the 1009th Tirunakshatram we were celebrating. So after he was born, he was named as Ilaya Perumal or Ramanuja. And at the age of 16, he got married to a girl called Tanjamamba on his father's wish. So from his very young age, he was learning the Vedic knowledge. He was getting the Vedic knowledge from his father. I think at his age of 18, after the demise of his father, he, along with his mother and his wife, he moves to a place near Kanchipuram. That place is also called Jatayupuram because that is where they say, Jatayu got moksha. He attained moksha, which was given by Lord Sri Rama. So, Ramanujacharya Swami, along with his family, they used to live in Kanchipuram, and he used to, travel to the nearby place to learn more advanced, Vedantic Shastra, or, from his guru called Yadava Prakasha. So he was learning Advaitic philosophy from Yadava Prakasha. After the, death of his father at the age of 18. And while he was learning, we have learned that his knowledge was more advanced than his guru. And, he used to even, um, I would not say like correct, but he used to, suggest maybe, we should look at the Bhagavan's nature or Bhagavan's gunas as like this instead of like this. So he was basically, correcting the guru. So with this, the guru gets a little upset over a period of time, and he plots an assassination attempt on Sri Ramanujacharya Swami. So after this attempt, he learns that his guru is trying to kill him. He, with the help of his cousin Govinda, he comes back to Kanchipuram, and he tells all this to his dear, friend Kanchi Purnulu, and with his advice, he starts to do the Tirtha Kankaryam to Lord Varadaraja Swami in Kanchipuram. While he was doing this, after a little while, the Guru comes back. He does not show any kind of grudge or any grievance. And again, he just starts to go to his Guru and do the continuation of the learning. Meanwhile, in Kanchipuram, in Srirangam, we have learned that there is an Acharya called Yamunacharyalu. So Yamunacharya learns about this young Ramanuja, and he sends one of his disciple called Mahapurnulu to bring Ramanujacharya to him. So the Mahapurnulu, once he reaches Kanchipuram, he goes to Ramanujacharyalu, and he starts to recite the Alavandar Stotram, which we have spoken already about. So when he starts to recite the Alavandar Stotram, Ramanujacharya Swami gets attracted to that Stotram because it beautifully describes about, Sriman Narayana or the Bhagavan. So once he starts to listen to that, he gets attracted to that, and he asks Mahapurnulu, who is the one who has, composed all this? And then he learns to know about Yamunacharyalu, and he, along with Mahapurnulu, he goes to Srirangam to meet Yamunacharyalu. But by the time he goes to Srirangam, Yamunacharyalu is suffering from a terminal illness. And once Ramanujacharya reaches the Srirangam, Yamunacharya happens to leave the body, and his body is ready to be, for the last rites. They prepare the body for the last rites. So when Ramanujacharya sees this, he gets, very emotional that he's not able to meet that great Acharya. And, he looks at the body which is placed there, and he sees that the three fingers of the Acharya, they are folded. So he asks everybody there, because he hasn't seen Yamunacharya before. He asks, does the Acharya's fingers, they are always folded, or why am I seeing they are folded? So everybody notices that, and they are all like astonished. Oh, why are they folded? No, they are not folded like this ever. So they talk among themselves, and Ramanujacharya asks the other disciples, are there any wishes for Yamunacharya that needs to be fulfilled? When he asks that, his disciples, they tell Ramanujacharya that, Yamunacharya was always working on Brahma Sutras. He was also working on the commentary of Bhagavad Gita, and so and so. So by listening all this, then Ramanujacharya takes three vows, and he goes, around the body of Yamunacharya, and then he gives out. Every round he gives out a vow, saying that um, bhakti, when you talk about bhakti, just doing the service to the Lord, like how we do manually without any love or anything. We just perform the aradhana every day just for doing sake. But what our acharyas say is the real bhakti is in the service what we offer when we have the true love for him. That bhakti or that aradhana should come with true love. That is called bhakti. So, Ramanujacharya says, I I am gonna work on this bhakti movement, and I am gonna write a commentary on the Brahma Sutras, which should be available to the entire mankind. Whoever wants to gain the knowledge from this, they can, and they can develop the love for the Lord and show the bhakti towards the Lord. So that is the first vow he tells in front of the crowd. So as soon as he takes this vow, one of the fingers from Yamunacharya's body, it opens up. We should remember, already he has left the body, but still Yamunacharya is, reacting to Ramanujacharya's vows. So one of the fingers opens up, and then he tells, um, the Vaishnava tradition is based on the teachings of Alvars. Alvar means who is in deep love with the Lord. That's it. That's all they do. They don't have anything else. If you look at the lives of Alvar, like Kulashekara Alvar, even though he was a great king, he was always in the thoughts of Bhagwan. If you take Nammalvar, if you take Tondarappodi Alvar, if you take any Alvar, Tirumangai Alvar, they all lived for the service of the Lord. So what Ramanujacharya takes the vow is, I will make sure to propagate the Divya Prabandham, all the, shlokas written by the Alvars. I'm going to make sure that they go into the people, and they start to read them, they start to enjoy them, and they start to, enjoy the love of the Lord. When he tells this second vow, another second finger opens. That means the Acharya is approving the vows taken by Ramanujacharya. And the third one, what he says is, rishis, like, Vyasa Maharshi and his father, Parasara Maharshi, they have worked immensely to give out the knowledge about the Bhagavan. So I'm going to work to intensify the glory of these Maharshis, the Parasara Maharshi and Vedavyasa Maharshi. I will work to intensify the glory of these Maharshis. That's what he tells in the third vow. So after he gives out the third vow, the three fingers open. They all feel happy that Yamunacharya has accepted Ramanujacharya, and we have to see the intensity of this love towards the Acharya and towards the Bhagwan in Ramanujacharya Swami. That's why the three fingers of Yamunacharya opened. And as soon as the three fingers open, he's still upset because he could not meet his acharya. So even with that upset, after the last rites, he does not even go into the temple of Srirangam. That is his first time coming into Srirangam, but he does not go to see the Lord. He just goes back to Kanchipuram, and he starts to continue his Tirtha Kainkariam. After he starts to do the Tirtha Kainkariam, then he realizes, okay, now it's time for me to move on. And his wife also, she has the ideas of like what we listen, the Brahmins, all the acharas, don't touch this, or don't talk to the people of the lower caste, or don't feed the people of lower caste. Those things, what we hear, she used to follow all those rituals. And Ramanujacharya is with a mindset, he has a very broad minded mindset and open mindset back then. And he would never encourage these kind of rituals. He always thought that everybody is equivalent in front of God. Nobody should be treated less or nobody should be treated more. He was that kind of mindset. So always, there is a difference in the ideology of his wife with himself. But he still keeps working, and he still keeps to learn. And while he's still doing the Tirthakainkaryam, we have learned that he gives a set of questionnaires to Kanchipurnulu and asks him to give it to Lord Varadaraja Swami and guide him, what needs to be done further. So he gets the answers from Lord Varadaraja Swami that we have learned in our last session. After that, he learns that he got an acharya in the form of Mahapurnulu, who is a disciple of Yamunacharya. So once he learns that he needs to go to Mahapurnulu, he starts his journey. He starts to go to Srirangam. Okay, I'm gonna go to Srirangam and meet Mahapurnulu. Meanwhile, Mahapurnulu comes to meet Ramanujacharya Swami along with his wife, because he wants to train Ramanujacharya Swami or teach Ramanujacharya Swami as per Yamunacharya's instructions. So in between, from Kanchipuram to Srirangam, they both happen to meet in a place called Madurantakam. Ramanujacharya comes from Kanchipuram and Mahapurnulu comes from Srirangam. And they happen to see each other and they feel happy. Oh, I am coming to see you. So I'm coming to see you. In Madurantakam itself, Ramanujacharya doesn't even waste a minute. He requests Mahapurnulu to do Samashrayanam to him, accept him as his Sishya. Then Mahapurnulu says, that's okay, we'll go back to either Srirangam or we'll go back to Kanchipuram and then I can do the Samashrayanam. But Ramanujacharya says, no, 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 I want to finish at this moment. We don't know what is going to happen in the next moment. I do not want to waste a minute. So he gets the, initiation, mantra initiation, or what we call as Samashrayanam in Madurantakam itself from Mahapurnulu. So Mahapurnulu is his Acharya. Then they both go back to Kanchipuram, and Mahapurnulu stays in Ramanujacharya's house itself, and he starts to teach Ramanujacharya different sets of Vedic philosophies. So Yamunacharya tells, he sets apart five acharyas and tells these five acharyas to teach Ramanujacharya in specific, different philosophies. He instructs all these five acharyas to teach Ramanujacharya different philosophies. So Mahapurnulu, he goes to Kanchipuram and starts, teaching Ramanujacharya, Vedanta, these Brahma Sutras, about Bhagavad Gita, all these about Divya Prabandham, different. He has different acharyas. We are going to look further. So once he starts to learn, what happens is over a period of 6 months, they will be doing the training, but Ramanujacharya's wife, she starts to treat even Mahapurnulu and his wife also, even though they are, scholars, she starts to treat them in a not very nice manner. So she starts to trouble Mahapurnulu's wife and all that. So with this, Mahapurnulu is not, very happy, and his wife also starts to complain. Why are we living here? Why don't we go back to Srirangam? Because this young lady, she does not like us and she's not treating us properly. So what is the purpose of teaching this way? Why don't we go back to Srirangam? So without saying any word, Mahapurnulu goes back to Srirangam. And when Ramanujacharya Swami realizes this, that Mahapurnulu has left, he is not very happy, because for Ramanujacharya, the whole purpose of the life is to, to give this knowledge to the entire mankind, so that everybody can prosper, everybody can get this knowledge and lead their lives. That's what his universal aim is. But his wife becomes a hurdle for his goal. So what he does is, he doesn't want his to bother his wife also. So he tells his wife to go back to her parents' home, and because for him, his goal is to work for the universe, not to just live in that grihastashramam. And without his help, he cannot go further. And his wife is not ready to help him in a broad-minded way. So he advises his wife to go back to her parents' home, and at the age of 32, you know, um, at the age of 32, he gets initiated. At the age of around same age, he takes up the sannyasashramam, because if he is in the grihasthashramam, the dharmam is different. He has to take care of his wife. He has to take care of the family, even though his mother also passed away. So he was more keen into the universal interest, into doing good for the mankind. So he gets, acquaintance with somebody called Kureshulu. Kureshulu is someone who is to live near Kanchipuram. He hears about Ramanujacharya and Ramanujacharya's interests, and he comes and meets Ramanujacharya, and he gains acquaintance with Ramanujacharya Swami. And Kureshulu is a great scholar. He has like great knowledge about, how things are done, how to do, like, great knowledge about how to do things in the right way. And his grasping power is also like magnanimous. If he like listens once to the entire shlokas, he can just recite them back. So that kind of memory he has. So upon, Kureshulu's advice and everybody's advice, he takes up the sannyasashramam and he goes to Srirangam. And in Srirangam, with the help of Kureshulu, he takes the temples management into his hands. It is not very easy to get that management into his hands. Already there is an authority who is already taking care of Sri Rangam temple. So, they please this authority, and then they take the temple's keys, and also they start to take care of the Sri Rangam temple, making so many reforms, because the priests or whoever were taking care of the temple, they had so many limitations. Not everybody was allowed into the temple, not women were allowed into the temple, not the lower castes were allowed into the temple. So after Ramanujacharya Swami takes the control of these temples, he starts to make these reforms slowly. Meanwhile, we have learned that Yamunacharya has assigned 5 acharyas for Ramanujacharya Swami to teach, different sects of knowledge. So here we may get a question: why is Ramanujacharya Swami assigned with so many acharyas? Because he himself is a great scholar. Means one thing what we have to understand is, whoever you are, how much of greater knowledge you have, it is always a good idea to gain knowledge from an acharya. Why we have to gain knowledge from a guru? Why should not we, ponder upon the knowledge by ourselves? Means acharya is someone who has already, they learn from their gurus. Nobody learns directly. Everybody learns from their gurus. There is an acharya parampara for every tradition. So they learn from their guru, and they get the Bhagavad Sakshatkaram, and they have already experienced everything. So you don't have to go and ponder upon yourself, go through all those struggles, learn, and sometimes your energy may not be sufficient to get into the deeper knowledge. So acharya is someone who can help you to guide, to be guided thoroughly. He is like a sailing boat in the ocean, so that you don't sink. They are going to sail you smoothly. So that's why Ramanujacharya, even though he has immense knowledge, he was also at the mercy of these gurus, and he learned from them very, with very humbleness, with very humility, with very politeness. He used to do all that. So while he was doing this process, there was a guru called, his yes, in the last session I mentioned all of the disciples of Yamunacharya, their name ends with Purna, Mahapurnulu, Sri Shaila Purnulu, Kanchi Purnulu, like that. So there is an other disciple of Ramanujacharya Swami called Goshti Purnulu, and he used to live in a town or a village called um, Tirukoštiyur. So this was, a little away from Sri Rangam. And this Goshti Purnulu, he was a scholar in, in the knowledge about the mantras, Ashtakshari Mantram, Dvaya Mantram, and the Charama Shlokam. So always after our initiation, because these mantras, they have a deeper knowledge, when you recite a mantra, there may be some words in the mantra, but there is a deeper knowledge, the deeper meaning behind the mantras. For example, if we take the Charama Shlokam, it goes like this. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami mashuchaha. So what does Sri Krishna Paramatma say? Sarvadharman parityajya. He says, give up all the dharmas and surrender only to me. Then I will make sure that you will get moksha. So when you listen to this literal meaning, he's saying the words meaning, when you listen to it, it says Sarva Dharman Parityajya, means give away all your dharmas. That means you don't need to do any dharma. But the real meaning behind that is not like that. What he meant to say is, Do all your dharmas, swadharmam, follow whatever you are supposed to do as is. And when he says, parityajya, he's saying, let go of the result. Don't get attached to the result, what you're getting from doing your dharmas. That's what the literal meaning that's what the hidden meaning in that shloka. So that meaning we have to get it from our acharya. We should not just recite the shlokas and then derive the meaning and then start to act upon. No, our acharya is the one who teaches us what is the meaning behind that. So to learn the meaning of the Charama Shlokam, he goes to Goshti Purnulu. He requests his Acharya to give the meaning or to explain the purpose of the Charama Shlokam and how to, how to get the knowledge of Charama Shlokam and how to put it in Acharana. So Goshti Purnulu is someone, back then they never gave the mantram or they never gave the meaning just like that. There used to be a lot of testing to be done on the students, ability or interest, and then they used to give the meaning or the mantram itself. So Goshti Purnulu, even for Ramanujacharya, um, he went 17 times to Tirukoštiyur to learn the Charamashlokam. Every time Goshti Purnulu used to say, give some or the other reason and send him back and asks him, oh, come after 3 months. Then after 3 months, Ramanujacharya used to go to Goshti Purnulu on that said day. And then again he used to send him back giving some reason. Like that, he sends him back 17 times. Imagine 17 times. If it were us, we would say, oh, what is there to learn? Oh, that Acharya, he doesn't want to teach. So I'm not going to go and learn from him. What is there to learn from him? We do it like that. But Ramanujacharya did not do that way. He went the 18th time. After seeing his interest, Goshti Purnulu, he tells Ramanujacharya Swami, all these mantras and mantra ardham, the meaning of the mantras should be kept secret. It should not be given to, anybody. You should test and give these mantras. So saying all this, he gives the Charamashlokam and the meaning of the Charamashlokam. So after listening to the beauty of the Charamashlokam, Ramanujacharya Swami is moved from inside. This shloka has such a beautiful meaning, and this Acharya is saying that this should not be given easily to everybody. But this is something everybody should learn. Every human should learn this knowledge. Every human being should get this knowledge, implement this knowledge, and then that is how they get liberated from this karma cycle. So why is my Acharya saying this? He gets moved from inside and he gets upset. There is a temple in Tirukoštiyur, he thinks, if I give out this mantram, I am the one who is gonna go into what you call hell, narakam, and the rest of the people, whoever listens to it, gets the moksham or the release from the karma bondage. Whoever listens and follows. So let me go onto the Gopuram and give out this mantra. Even if I go to hell, that's okay. But whoever gains this knowledge and implements this knowledge in their life, at least they get released from the karma bondage. So he gets onto the temple in Tirukoštiyur, onto the Gopuram of the temple in the same Tirukoštiyur, and he gives out the mantra. So when he starts to gives out the mantram in the loud voice, the Acharya gets to know that Ramanujacharya is doing something like this. He comes running to the temple, and by the time Ramanujacharya comes down of the temple, and he yells at Ramanujacharya Swami, how dare you disobey Guru's, wow. And when he yells at Ramanujacharya Swami with great humility, Ramanujacharya Swami tells him, Acharya, you gave me the meaning of, the Charama Shlokam and the mantras. But this meaning, if anybody learns who has interest, when they learn the meaning and when they try to implement it, they are gonna get the ultimate happiness, a soul happiness. So, even if I go to Narakam or hell, that's okay. I'm ready to go to hell as per your instructions. But the mantra, what I have given, even if one soul, learns that, implements that, and if he gets released from the karmic bondage, I'm more than happy. Even I go to hell, that's okay, but if somebody is getting released from this karmic bondage, that is all I want. I do not want anything else. So, looking at this magnanimous, heart of Sri Ramanujacharya, Goshti Purnulu itself, um, he realizes what mistake he has done, and then he apologized to Ramanujacharya Swami and he calls him Emperumanar. Emperumanar means you are the greatest. So that's why Ramanujacharya Swami, even now we call is Emberman, Emberumanar, Emberumanar. So that is how Goshti Punulu, titles him, and then he asks his son, to be the disciple of Ramanujacharya Swami. So, like this, we see that Ramanujacharya Swami gets many, many disciples for himself. Even Yadava Prakashulu, whom he was learning Advaitic philosophy from, after later on he realizes that he has done mistake by plotting on assassination on Ramanujacharya Swami with his mother's advice. Yadava Prakasha's mother's advice, he becomes the disciple for Ramanujacharya Swami. Like that, if we look at Ramanujacharya Swami's life, so many people who try to harm him becomes the disciples of him later on. Like this, after the Goshti Purnulu incident, he tries to gain the leadership in Srirangam, and then he tries to do many reforms in the temple. What we have to understand is Ramanujacharya Swami not only does the reforms. For example, we'll give a small example to understand. Here the priests in Srirangam temple, they give, naivedyam, they offer naivedyam to the Lord, and they offer many upacharas to the Sri Ranganatha Swami. So when they are offering these upacharas, Ramanujacharya Swami always taught them, do it with love. When you do it with love, you're going to do it in the right way, not just offering him something like in the winter nights, they used to offer him curd rice. So, like grapes and all these. So, when Ramanujacharya Swami saw this, why are you offering him already it is cold in the nights, and why are you offering him something which creates more cold inside the body? So, why are you offering this to the Lord? Offer him the right way, seasonal food, whatever you get in the season, offer it to him in the right way. That's how he teaches. And also he teaches to the common man how to do the aradhana for the Lord, how to love him, how to, when you're doing aradhana in your own homes, what is the right way to do it? So there is there is a order in which all the offerings should be offered to the Lord, not only in the temples, not only to common people. It is vice versa. What needs to be done to the God, what needs to be done to the people, even for the people, you know. it does not matter which caste they belong to. Everybody should be able to visit the temple when there is only one universal mother and father to all the souls. Why these differences? And he was teaching the society that it should not be differentiated like this. Everybody should be able to come and see the Lord and offer their prayers. So he was reforming in both the ways, the society and also the Vedic philosophy, the acharas what are given to the what are offered to the Lord. So like that, he was working in Sri Rangam. Then he happens during his lifetime. He happens to visit Tirumala. He visits Tirumala in his lifetime 3 times. So in the first visit, like before he after the first visit, I think he appoints. We have heard many times about Anantalvar. So he appoints Anantalvar to take care of the services in Tirumala. That is the one thing he has done. And the second thing is, we know that Sri Shaila Purnulu, he is in Tirumala. So he goes to Sri Shaila Purnulu to learn the knowledge in Ramayanam, the hidden knowledge in Ramayanam, I would say. Because Ramayanam, when listen to it in the outer, when you listen to it, just the shlokas, the meaning, what we understand is different from the inner meaning. There is a very, very, very deeper insight in Ramayana. So he learns Ramayanam not just once from Sri Shaila Purnulu. They go over and over again 18 times, the whole entire Ramayanam, to gain the complete knowledge and to gain the complete command over the knowledge of Ramayana. While he's doing this, what happens is, at that time there was a Chola king called, sometimes I forget these names, Kulottanga Choludu. His name is Kulottanga Choludu. So this is a Chola king. He used to rule the kingdom back then. In Chidambaram, I don't know if you've heard or not, in Chidambaram, Vishnumurti, there is an idol of Vishnumurti lying down, and Lord Shiva and Parvati, they have a competition between themselves, who is the better dancer. So Lord Shiva, he is residing as in the residing pose, and he is the judge to decide who is the best dancer. So that is the scenario in Chidambaram. All the statues are like that. Vishnumurti is in the lying position, and Shiva and Parvati, they are in the dancing pose. So this Kulottanga Chola, he's a Shiva, Lord Shiva's devotee, and he has a hatred towards Vishnumurti. So what he does is, the idol which is in Chidambaram, he takes that whole idol and he puts it in the ocean. So Ramanujacharya Swami learns that something like this has happened in Chidambaram. And at that time, he is in Tirumala. So when he learns this in Tirumala, with the help of the local artisans, he, he asked them to create an idol of Govindarajaswamy, which is similar to the idol which was thrown in the ocean. And he consecrates this idol in the Tirupati. The Govindarajaswamy temple, what we are seeing right now, is the same idol which was, created by the artisans, by the, advice of Ramanujacharya Swami. And then he is consecrated by Ramanujacharya Swami in the place of the Vishnumurti in Chidambaram. That is a Divya Desham. And that, Murti was thrown into the ocean. So he creates a replica of the same Murti, and he derives the energy of the Murti there, and he consecrates into this Murti. So the Govindaraja Swami Murti has come into existence like that. Again, in Tirumala also he does lot of reforms, how to do the Brahmotsavams to Lord Srinivasa, and how to do the Upacharas to Lord Srinivasa. And he also becomes the Acharya for the Swami, giving him, the Shanku and Chakra. Because if we look into the story of Tirumala, Lord Srinivasa, he gives his Shanku and Chakra to Tondaman Chakravarti. So he's devoid of those. When Ramanujacharya Swami learns that, he becomes the Acharya for Srinivasa, and then he gives him the Shanku Chakralu. And also Ramanujacharya, you can see the shrine of Ramanujacharya Swami in Tirumala. He is called as Bhashyakara. He is the Acharya for Tirumala Venkateshwara Swami. So that's how he reforms lots of, he makes lots of changes, even Tirumala temple, and he appoints, GS to take care of the Tirumala temple. That's how he works in Tirumala. And when, during his travels in Srirangam, we have heard about this Kulottanga Chola. So what happens is, this Kulottanga Chola, he sends his army men to Srirangam to bring Ramanujacharya Swami to him, because he learns that Ramanujacharya Swami is a Vaishnavite, Acharya, and he is doing lot of reforms in the Vaishnava temples. He does not like this, and he sends his men to bring Ramanujacharya Swami. We have learned the disciple of Kuresha. He is like a great disciple of Ramanujacharya Swami. He learns that that king is sending someone, and he dresses himself as Ramanujacharya Swami. He and Mahapurnulu, they go with the soldiers to Kulottanga Chola, and he presents himself as Ramanujacharya Swami, because he does not want Ramanujacharya Swami to be harmed. And he tells the people in Srirangam, his disciples, Ramanujacharya Swami, other disciples, he tells them, you take Ramanujacharya Swami away from here, away from the influence of the Kulottanga Chola. So he goes to Kulottanga Chola, and we have learned that the Chola king, he takes out the eyes of Kureshulu, and also, he hurts Mahapurnulu so much that Mahapurnulu breathes his last. So he leaves this world, the soul leaves this world. So Ramanujacharyulu, he happens to go to Karnataka, the Melkota region of Karnataka. So because at that time, the Jainism was much prevailed in Karnataka. So once he goes there, he comes in contact with these Jain leaders, and he changes all these Jain leaders into Vaishnavites, and he does lots of reforms in Melkota temple too. And during this time, we have heard that one of the idol from Melkota is taken away by the Sultanate of Delhi. The Sultan of Delhi takes the idols from Melkot. So one of the idol is in the palace of the Sultan, and the daughter of the Sultan is in deep love with that idol. She keeps the idol in his room, in her room, and she loves the idol very much. So Ramanujacharya learns that the Delhi Sultanate has taken these idols, and he goes to the Delhi Sultan, and he asks him to give back the idol. So the Sultan says, oh, if you have so much love for your Lord, you call him. If the Lord comes to you, if that idol comes to you, you can take him. So Ramanujacharya Swami, in that, in the Delhi Sultanate's hall itself, he calls upon the Lord. That Lord's name is Sampat Kumara, the idol's name. So he calls upon to the Sampat Kumara, and after his calling, the Sampat Kumara from that girl's room comes and lands on Ramanujacharya's lap. By seeing this, that Delhi Sultanate he's moved, the Delhi Sultan. He gives the idol to Lord Ramanujacharya Swami and he sends him back with great honor, with all the gifts and great honor. At that time, when Ramanujacharya brings the idol, the king's daughter, she is not there in the palace. So after, when she comes back, she learns that the idol is not anymore in her room. So when she learns that Ramanujacharya has taken the idol, she is, um, she cries so much for the idol, and she comes in search of the idol. And when she comes to Melkote and when she sees the idol, with that love and affection, once she sees the idol, she leaves her, last breath. So, looking at this love of this girl, Ramanujacharya learns that, only someone who has the Devi Amsha can only love the Lord so much. This girl has so much love for the Lord. That means she has the Amsha of Lakshmi Devi. Even though she belongs to the Muslim kingdom, he names her as Bibi Nachiyar, and he makes an idol for her and he places her in Melkota. That's how Bibi Nachiyar came into existence in Melkota. So, like this, it is all his pure love for the Lord. Whatever reforms he has done for the people, for the Bhagavan, it is out of complete pure love only he does all that. So after living in Melkot, because of this king and his atrocities, he lives in Melkot for 12 years, And after he learns that Kulottanga Chola has passed away, he is called Krimikanta Choludu because of his, bad behavior or something. He gets a very bad disease. His whole throat is eaten away, and he dies of that disease. That's why he's called Krimikanta Choludu. After that, this Krimikanta Choludu passes away, then, he comes back to Srirangam and he starts to live again in Srirangam. And meanwhile, he writes lot of commentaries on Lord. He does the Sri Bhashyam, which is a commentary on Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras, it is the knowledge about the Bhagavan's Kalyana Gunas, So he writes this Sri Bhashyam. He writes the commentary on the Alvar's Divya Prabandham, and also he writes the commentary on Bhagavad Gita. You should listen to the knowledge given by Ramanujacharya Swami on Bhagavad Gita. You will, you will fall in love with that, and you will get a clear understanding of how to live your life. What is the right way to live your life in a dharmic way, and, live the right way to see the life. When you listen to this commentary on Bhagavad Gita, it's beautiful. Everybody should learn that. So, like that, and also he writes a commentary, like he writes something called Gadyatrayam. This Gadyatrayam, it consists of three Gadyams. The first one is Sri Ranga Gadyam. The second one is Vaikunta Gadyam, and the third one is Sharanagati Gadyam. In Sri Ranga Gadyam, he describes the entire, and the complete history and the knowledge about Sri Rangam, how Lord Sri Ranganatha came to Sri Rangam and how the temple is, and everything about Sri Rangam in the Sri Ranga Gadyam. And in Vaikunta Gadyam, I don't know if you've heard or not, we do the Paramapadam meditation. Sometimes we have done the other day in the healing too. In this Paramapadam, in this Vaikunta Gadyam, Ramanujacharya Swami describes the Paramapadam, how Paramapadam is. how the Lord is, how Muktulu is, how Nityasuris is, how that entire region is, how big is that region. So all that is in this Vaikunta Gadyam. And the third Gadyam is called Sharanagati Gadyam. In Sharanagati Gadyam, he explains how to do Sharanagati to the Bhagavan. What does Sharanagati mean exactly? You know, the knowledge given by Alvars. We have seen even in Tirupavai, Andal also talks about Sharanagati. So drawing all this from the Prabandhams, he gives out this Sharanagati Gadyam and he explains how to do Sharanagati, how to bring Lakshmi Devi forward and how to offer Sharanagati to the Lord through her. So these are the three scriptures he does. And he also goes to Srirangam. Sorry, not Srirangam. He also goes to Kashmir, and there he gets the blessings of Ma Saraswati, and he gets a statue of Hayagriva. There, he talks about, from the Brahma Sutras, he talks about the divine qualities of the Lord, and he explains the Lord who is residing in the Surya Narayana, how he is, what is the beauty. When he, explains all this, Ma Saraswati, she gets very happy with him. She appears in front of him. She offers him the statue of the Hayagriva. I don't exactly remember. This statue is still there. I don't know if it's in Melkot or Srirangam, but this statue still exists. So that way, he leads his life. He comes back to Srirangam and he leads his rest of the life in Sharanagati. And at the end, when he passes away, he gives an archamurti of himself to Sri Perambudur as a gift because he was born there. And also after he passes away, the Lord Ranganatha tells the priests in Sri Rangam to restore Ramanujacharya Swami Deham with Chandanam and Kumkuma Puvu. They make a mixture and they apply, a certain days. And till now, that Deham, Ramanujacharya Swami Deham, it is still seated in Srirangam. We can go and visit also. So these murtis, they have names, Ramanujacharya's murtis. The first Archa Murti, it's in Melkot. It's called Tamaruganda Tirumeni. Tirumeni means sacred body of the Acharya. So the one in Melkot, the Archamurti in Melkot is called Tamaruganda Tirumeni. That means Archa form that devotees liked. The meaning of that is. And the second one, it's in Tirumala. It's called Avanuganda Tirumeni. That is the Archa form that Lord Srinivasa liked. And the third Archamurti is in Sri Perumbudur. These are all the Archamurtis of Ramanujacharya Swami. Sri Perumbudur, that is called the Tanuganda Tirumeni. That means he in Archa form that he liked. He gave it to the people of Sri Perumbudur himself. And the last one is in Sri Rangam, which is his Deham itself. It's in the Vasanta Mandapam, in the northeast corner of the temple of Sri Rangam, that is called Tanana Tirumeni. That means he in his own form. So these are all the four Archamurtis of Ramanujacharya Swami. And we have also learned the beautiful Archamurti in Muchintal in Sri Ram Nagar in Hyderabad, in Shamshabad. That is another form of Archa form of Ramanujacharya Swami. The